you know the best thing to come off of the grapevine besides Creedence Clearwater Revival, and where else you gonna find such classic rock in the long versions, no less, man. We just let them rock and roll our sweetheart and soul, don't we? Here on this Coyote Medicine Show, only on the ever-loving, sweethearted center of your entire universe, since this morning anyway, the Hazy Radio Network with the Coyote Medicine Show, Grandpa Coyote and a whole bunch of angels like you, don't you know? Old darlings, we're setting ourselves free, going with the flow of Creedence Clearwater Revival. Heard it through the grapevine. You know the best thing come off a grapevine? Ooh, was a bottle of wine, pretty little thing. When you gonna let me get sober? Leave me alone, let me go home and start over. That's an old classic we'll have to find and play here sometime. That sweet old bottle of wine. How many of us have fallen for that one, man? I remember one day I'm riding along the bus in Boulder, Colorado. It's a long time ago. Again, God, I got all these old stories. And this friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, lady friend of mine, you know, who just happened to be a big fanatic in AA. Hell, they're worse than Jehovah's Witnesses, man. And she puts the clamp on me on the city bus that day as I'm riding along, just minding my own business and rapping with her a little bit. You're an alcoholic, Grandpa. You need to come to AA and get yourself straightened out. As we're sitting there healing her cancer away. God, I just love it, man. This life is so ironic. And it's so damn much fun, too. Bottle of wine, pretty little thing. Mary Jane, ease my pain. When you going to let me ever get... Well, I don't want to be anything but high, babies. Right along with the rest of you guys and gals out there in Coyote Land. Yes, indeed. Oh, salute to you with my beautiful little Grandpa Coyote coffee mug. If you haven't got one of these precious little things, you better get on over to thecoyoteclub.com and get one. KK all the way, remember that, Club and Coyote. But anyway, yeah, I got this beautiful thing. I got it on special, too. Awakening the Masses, one toke at a time. Now, this is hand-designed by Grandpa and hand-imprinted, too, you know. The mugs are made elsewhere. But they're special little things that I can put impressions on. And it's a complicated, involved little process. You know, because you can't just like slap it on like a decal and rip it off and there it is. It's got to be, you know, you got to have this special little piece of equipment to heat it to just the right temperature for just the right number of seconds. And so on and so forth. I mean, it drives you crazy, but it's cool. Like I was telling the other day, I just love making things with my hands, don't you? I mean, you know, baking is a lot of fun. I love baking. And just cooking in general, man. I've been a chef here and there in my time. Had a divine little paradise cafe out there in the middle of nowhere in Southern Oregon at one time. This is years ago, babies. Ooh, it's when I started coming around, though, you know, and started getting found. But back there at that cafe, it was like 8 miles from this little town of Cave Junction, Oregon. Back in the woods so far that even the bikers wouldn't hang out there anymore. They were afraid. Too damn many angels there, man. Actually, we bought it out from a biker gang that had run this poor thing into the ground. It was a cafe and a motel and a Western-style theme park with chainsaw carving, statues of gunfighters and so forth. We even had hookers up on the rail above the bar, man. Leaning over and shouting down at you. We'd throw a little party over there in that little place every now and then, get one of the local bands come in and rock down with the locals for a Saturday, Sunday, something like that. And once in a while, well, we'd have a little gathering back there in the campground, too. Had a campground there. God, it was one of the funnest gigs I ever had, man. And I had a really good crew there. We took that place and made it into a shining star, babies. You know? Well, and like a lot of things in business, it only lasted a while for me. Now, others grabbed hold of it, you know, kind of ripped it off, actually. But, oh, well, you know, life is what it is. And, you know, I bless my, you know, I have lived in some really precious places, and that was one of them. Pure magic out there in those Southern Oregon woods. These great big ass tall trees around you, 200 foot tall or so. You know, and I had a place just over the fence from this that I bought that had one of the most righteous springs I'd ever have drank water from, man. Ooh, sweet, clear, cold mountain water coming right through my tap in my living room there. What little time I got to spend there. Most of the time I was working. But I loved it, man. And I got crowds on the weekend. We'd get mobbed. I had a 40 top restaurant, 40, 45, I can't remember, but just about that. And man, they'd be busy like for 3 wham, wham, wham cycles, you know. Son of a gun. I got to be a pretty good chef. I got the Zen of the kitchen on, man. I didn't have any other choice, man. But ooh, we built up a reputation there just because I love cooking, and I don't put out poor quality stuff. I don't open up cans very damned often, let me tell you, man. And if I do, it's just for an added ingredient or two. It's not for the main thing at all. Everything I do is quality and from scratch. I learned that along the way, man. I learned from some of the best, but I learned from some of the best eaters too, you know. People that just enjoyed what you could put out. You know, and I would travel around a lot of my life and eat a lot of gourmet food, man. You know, I was a lucky little dog. I had expense accounts and so forth. I was well treated in this life in a lot of ways, and that was one of them. But I'd go out and eat all this exotic food, and then I'd go home, figure out how to make it or some version of it. So I finally settled on a style I call cowboy gourmet. And it's kind of like trailside cooking, only in a cafe. So I'll serve you things like, you know, cowboy crepes. And that's like this just slightly thicker than a regular crepe, you know. But it's got a little bulk in it, you know, and it's made out of, you know, organic everything. And, you know, ooh, kind of this soft, nutty taste to this little tiny pancakey thing we call a crepe. Little thin thing. You fry them on both sides and get them browned a bit. Then you toss them on the plate. And then you wrap in there a little bit of sour cream or cottage cheese and a little fruit, you know, and roll them up. And ooh, daub them up with a little this and that and the other. That's cowboy crepes. 3 of them on a plate, man. Oh, yeah. And you can hardly eat all of it. It's so darn good and so darn rich, too. But early in the day, what a great way to get the sparkle in your eye and the dance in your footsteps, huh? I'd say, man. See, don't you wish Grandpa still had a cafe? Well, I don't, because I work too hard. You know, I mean, that was 18 hours a day just in the cafe, and another 6 for the rest of the place. I didn't get to sleep too much, but I sure had a good time. I've always been kind of resilient like that, though. Very energetic, very able to stay awake for long, long stretches of time, you know. Kind of goes with the turf when I was trucking, you know, and I did a lot of trucking. That was my favorite fallback. In fact, you know, sometimes I'd be working in business or something, and I'd just get this urge to get back on the road, go get in a truck, you know, and I'd do it just for the pure pleasure of it, you know, because I could get a job anywhere, anytime, because I was really good at what I did and had a good reputation, you know. But that was because I delivered. I could take a load in L.A. and 2 days later or have that thing delivered in New York City if I wanted to. Now, you really had to motivate me if you wanted me to do something like that, and quite often they would. Because it's illegal as all get out even back then. Back then they wouldn't put you in jail for it. These days they will. So it's a whole different ball game out there now. But it was a lot of fun doing that. But, you know, that was part of my season. Because, like I said, I got good jobs, so I could afford to eat well, and I did. I treated myself good out there on the old highway. And just from that, I learned how to cook a lot of really neat stuff, you know, that I would like cowboyize as I made it, you know, westernize it a bit, which means make it a little spicy, a little more flavorful, you know. Most of America is into bland food, you know. Well, out here in the West, we're raised lots on ranches and farms and stuff, so we have the food right from the ground, you know, right to our table, you know, and we get spoiled. And we get out there and eat in the cafe world, and we find out nobody knows anything other than frozen, instantinated, canned bullshit, freeze-dried. Nuke this sucker. Let's feed him. Well, I never did it that way. When I finally had my own cafe, well, then I did it my own way, and I did it from quality up, and I got good deals on stuff, so I could still give persons a bargain, like 3 jumbo shrimp and all the trimmings, done up just right, and garlic butter and a little bit of white beano to zing it along, and melt in your mouth. Oh, I'm such a cannibal when it comes to that. $10, $9.95. Same thing with big old slice of barbecued prime, man. $9.95 with all the trimmings. That was back in the 80s. We could do that then. You couldn't do that now if you had to. It'd be $25, and that'd be a deal too. Whew. Glad I don't eat out much anymore. Too damned expensive these days on a free day Friday. You got to be able to make it yourself, man. And besides that, most restaurant food these days, not all of it, thank goodness, but most of it, instantinated, canned, frozenated crap, man, Amazing that it has any flavor left in it. And by the time you get done eating all the chemistry in it, well, you're going to have to go visit the doctor next week, or the witch doctor, or somebody, get all that chemistry straightened out in your body again, man. Because the food they feed you, when it's instantinated, frozenated, they toss chemicals in it like with casual elegance, man. Let's throw a little of that FD&C number 5 in that one over there. Oh, and a little, what do they call that stuff? So benzoate, the sodium benzoate in that one over there. Oh, add an extra drop or two. Hell, let's just see how they do with it, okay? That's food these days. Made in a factory, like we were talking yesterday. Well, you lose something there. You don't get any value at all out of that kind of food. And you get poisoned on top of it. Hopefully you've got the kind of metabolism that can handle that and just fluff it off, flush it right out. If you're living in a good energy field, you will. Bless everything you put in your mouth. You can eat the junkiest, garbageous food, and you will receive some benefit from it where others won't. Again, it's all about energy, and energy's about attitude. And if your attitude is gratitude, well, baby, unless you're a total dumb klutz, which I don't run into very often, well, your food is, if you're a cook, it's going to come out, people are going to love it. Even if you make it out of a can. It's what you put into it. It's the energy. Well, it's the same way with life. You see, if we can develop a passion for living and for what we have lived, like we can for some of the things that we take interest in, like cooking, well, babies, just imagine what we could do with the gourmet side of that. Cowboy gourmet life, man. Well, that's Coyote medicine, of course. What else would it be? Yeah, exactly. But that is the bulk of life that we're living. It's very Coyote. See? And if we can just feel about, how we get passionate about a lover or a hobby or whatever. But if we could just put that same passion, that same interest, that same zeal into our living, which is what we're doing right now, and how I feel it, babies. You guys are just rocking today, man. By the way, the energy is coming in here really strong. Oh, of course, we're still equitizing some energies. Of course, so what? It's all love, babies. That's how we equitize. Get it in overdrive with Grandpa today as we teach you how to be a true, elegant, cooking gourmet, baby. Grandpa's Cooking School on a free day Friday. You want to be free? Learn how to make the food with real finery, man. But the real trick to it is, well, it's got to have some seasoning. It's got to have some spice. You got to know how to do that. But there's basic little elements that work well together, and if you just know that, your own intuition will tell you what portions to use and so forth, and it'll pop out just right every time. Same with life. Whatever ingredients need to be added to the central mix here, you got them on hand. An adequate supply. In fact, you could overdo it easy, and when you do, well, you just choke on it for a bit, but it passes, and you go back to doing it right again. Listening to your heart. See, that's what it's really all about. And that's good cooking and anything else good living that you want to name. If you got your heart in it, it's always a pleasure, and your end result will always be very pleasurable as a result. That's the trick to living a good life, and in fact, bring it on planetary ascendancy. Just to love what you are, to love what you be, and love what you be doing, with a passionate zeal that only humanity can feel. Well, at least for the moment, as we expand into that kind of grand feeling, we share it with the whole universe as a collective family of the heart, as the collective winged angels called humans. And babies, we got wings and halo. The halo is not a piece of metal hanging above your head. It's a globe, baby. It's a circle of light that surrounds you, man. The halo is just a focal point there near the top of it, hanging over your head. The rest of it's kind of rainbow gold, man. I don't know how else to describe it, because that's what we are. That's the vibe we're in. That's our truth. And that's what you come to see and be as you learn to live your life a little more elegantly. By what? Having a little passion about the flow of it. Seeing that there's enjoyment in every moment that you live. Sometimes the most simple and quiet things can be the most rewarding. Quiet, easy going, but there's this power of love in that quietness. These personal feelings, these personal experiences that we experience as one person can be so elegantly, dynamically powerful for the rest of every person that ever lived or will live, that it's unbelievable, the most rewarding moment there could ever be. And of course, if humanity and the great beyond of creation is getting that kind of satisfaction out of it, well, that's rooted right out of you, baby. So you're getting that kind of satisfaction too. That's why I often call it an orgasmic experience. It's a little different than the high-rolling things we do here, because it's based in that quiet, sweet moment where everything just comes clear and you're all united in it. It's the deepest feeling of gratitude there could ever be. It's that passion that we feel for this person or that hobby or that interest. I love flying too, man. That's one of my hobbies all my life. Because I feel that angelic presence when I'm up there. I like doing that, It reminds me of that. Don't you? I mean, you don't have to be a pilot to do it, but it's better if you are. At least then you know what's going on. And you can do something about it. That was one of my near misses back in the 80s, when I was making a little money then. I'd done, got myself back in the planes and getting back, working towards getting my license again, and long story short, I had a near miss with an airliner. But bless me, I knew just what to do and how to do it, even though I was still technically just a student pilot, but I'd been flying off and on since I was like, 8 years old. That's when I flew my first airplane, an Air Coupe, a Fournier Coupe, man. Talk about a sweet airplane. I still love them to this day. And there's planes out there as old as I am that are still flying and reliably so. Now, they've had to do a little rebuild on them, I'm sure, but wow. That Fournier Coupe was a hell of an airplane, let me tell you. They were going to make that into the family car, only it didn't quite work out that way. Buick and Chevrolet says, no, we can't let those people fly. They won't buy no cars. Oh, this world and world. And that was the funny thing about them going back to the restaurante and the little resort to go with it. That's the funny thing about that. Is, when you put that kind of passion into a place, you don't even have to, keep track of it. Everything's just in the flow and you're making money and you just do it intuitively, I guess is the word. It's more than that. It's just knowing and just doing and going with the flow of it. And let the bookkeepers keep the books afterwards, not beforehand, It's a pretty interesting way to live without, you're living by what I'd call the flow, the divine plan, see? So you don't need somebody planning for you no more, see? And that business became so successful that somebody else stole it right out from underneath me. They couldn't stand to see me have that much and did me a favor, got me out of it because I was working too hard. Then I was able to put my passion into healing myself and bringing myself back to life. And I wound it up in an even more magic place. It wasn't as the crow flies 40 miles over the mountains, but as you drive it, it's about 120. Impassable between those two sides of the mountain. There's no roads, It's real ruggedy country back in there. But on the other side of the mountain there, I started to get it clear. and found a passion for living. The same things I've been talking about here. I had a passion for trucking, you know, all kinds of things. I love being a cowboy, but not the rough stuff. I just love being out there in the weather, having my horse, being able to push the old cows around when I had to, mainly just watching them be cows and, you know, having a good time doing it, going out and fixing fence and so forth. That's the drudgerous side of it, but that's what you do when you're not moving them cows somewhere else and you're just babysitting them. Well, you go fix the fence up, because they're always breaking it down, those wild cows are. They like doing that just to show you who's really boss, but they come back, you know. It's funny, man. But see, I learned over there on that other side of the mountain that I got my passion back, you know. I knew somehow inside that, you know, after that big theft happened to me, that I really had to get back to my roots, my agrarian roots. And so I just put my energy in that direction, and guess what? Boom, just the exact right situation I needed fell into my hands. I wound up in a partnership on this ranch, pretty cool deal, but again, another one that after a few years went awry. But then it was time for me to move on, so I didn't mind. I thought I'd be there, though, when I first moved there. I thought I'd be there for the rest of my life. I was so settled in that place. God, paradise, man. A hard life. No utilities out there. I mean, we had to provide our own, etc. But, oh, goodness. And, you know, dilapidated old ranch around me. You think that cafe was a breeze compared to this ranch, let me tell you. But I didn't have to put the kind of time into it that I did over there in the cafe. I could take it a lot easier. So I did. I worked my butt off when I needed to, and I took it easy when I could. We always started the day with Mary J, and we always went skinny dipping in the creek at some point in the day, in the hot part of the day, and just had ourselves a righteous good time. Met people again. Isn't it strange out here living in this nowhere place? I mean, it's hidden, it's isolated. The road we live in back then wasn't even on a map. And yet people would find us out there from all over this world. And we'd sit down with them and toke down with them and rap about life and love and the pursuit of happiness, and take them out on little journeys in the mountains and so forth, and just had a hell of a good time being there, I'll tell you. And found my life and started to find myself then. Well, I got myself in full presence then, but it turned out that was a free sample. The rest of it now you got to process in. And see, without that other experience and other experience and other, I wouldn't have got there. I would have been somewhere else, doing something else. But that's just where I needed to be, to heal all this illness inside of me, to go to death again so I could come back to life again. And what a gorgeous, gorgeous place to be doing all of that. You couldn't look anywhere in that little valley, that little canyon we lived in, without seeing the face of God everywhere. When I talk about that, I'm not talking about the authoritarian D-head with the white whiskers like me. I'm talking about the one that smiles back at you from creation and says, hey, I love you, and I'm growing just more and more for you. You know, oh God, I tell you, that's when you know life is worth living. And worth loving too, because that's what it's made out of, babies. See, so allow for yourself what I'm sharing with you now in story tales, but also in energetic form. Allow yourself to settle that old score. Don't go hanging out with the sourpuss anymore, not inside. Look what's around you. Look what you've got already. Don't think about what you need. Think about what you got already. Go from there. You know, embrace yourself. You might find some passion, especially if you allow some feeling. In this personal way, it'll come to you and it'll complete you today and set you completely free all the way if you just let it come into play. Now, what that means is you have to be able to allow yourself to feel. And as we've described before on this show many times over, those feelings that we've known in the past were only, for the most part, now not always, but for the most part, just suggestions of real feelings. Suggestions of what really is going on and what we saw of a subconscious sort of way then. So in other words, you're activating your full presence now, including your mental capacity, but it's in the hands of the heart. It's a very different way of being. It's a unity thing. It's when you feel gathered together with all of yourself. If you'll just allow it to be, let it come into your presence, let your presence be that presence, and flow with it. Now, I know how difficult it can be to hang on to it after the Coyote medicine show's gone away. Sometimes the old energies come back and slam at you and say, hey, you can't be like that. And you just look back at them and lovingly say with that little bit of mischief in your eyes, I sure as hell can, baby. Watch me do it. And give them a show. Let them know you're not taking it lying down anymore. Unless you want to, of course. It goes both ways. It goes all ways. However we want it, that's the way it comes into play. But I'm telling you, it can get real personal for you today. And this is only associated with another person in the sense that all of humanity is joined with us. Yes, of course, in everything we feel and do and say. Everything. And creation right along with it, okay? But see, when you start to feel that, that's when these other feelings, these deeper ones, these more powerful ones, it's the same kind of feeling, but it just grows. It expands within you. Your ability to feel expands right along with it. And it'll stretch you because you have had great restriction inside. That's how you wound up in such a depressed place in the first place. It wasn't the circumstances, it was the flow, baby. Because you needed to know and you needed to go there so you could get on with it, baby. Remember now, you agreed to this in advance. Don't bitch at me. Life is so coyote, isn't it? And that's why you can develop a little. See, the coyote knows. That's why he's always got that sly grin on his face. He might look like a loser to a whole bunch of different people, but look, you can't kill them off. They just keep coming back. They thrive on poisons and nastiness. I mean, and they live in cities or anywhere they want to live in this entire continent, probably across the earth for all I know. I haven't been to the rest of it yet, so I haven't been able to check out the coyote energy there. I know they got some form of them down there in Australia and New Zealand, I'm pretty sure, man. You know, I think so anyway. One of these days we're going to come your way, baby, and we'll all get to play, man, and go skinny dipping in the creek where you are. Just get the snakes and the bugs out of the way so we can have some fun, okay? I know how Australia is, man. You guys live hard down there, harsh conditions. See, my place was paradise over there in Oregon, that Rancho Deluxe. So compared to what you guys have to put up, even if you even if you have a nice ranch like that, you know. Shoot, go down there, you got 20 times the problems I had up here, let me tell you. Weather's harsher, everything's just raw and edgy down there, isn't it? Well, we're softening up those edges too, just like we are now. Sharing the passion of love, the love of just being and doing. When you love what you're doing, you're always a success. It doesn't matter what the bank account says. Usually it follows suit, but sometimes you're in it for different reasons. It don't matter. You get by, you know, you don't have to worry about it. You just do it, yeah. Just get through it. When it runs its course, it runs its course, and you go on through it and get on into something else, whatever it is. See, most people are scared to death to live a life like that. So somebody had to create the flow, so a lot of free spirits came into being in my generation and subsequent ones too. We're here to set each other free, babies, and we do it by living free in our life, following that flow. Even when we don't know that's what we're doing. We just know we can't live like other people. We can't just settle down on a job and be there for 40 years and die. No! Screw that. You got to savor the flavor of each life. Savor, man. And every one of them does save your life. Now, if this isn't an adequate enough description of the living being of the flow of life and what transformation really is, give it in kind of a cowgirl sort of way, well, take it in the cowboy way then, okay? I'm going to brand it on your backside there. Can't brand cows no more because nobody owns them anymore, you know? As we even the score, the cattle are set free along with all the rest of us, don't you see? That's what it's all about, is being free. Free to be who, what, when, where, and how we are. All of it put together. A full presence emotion in a human person. Nothing can beat it. Nothing can cheat it. Nothing can take it away. That's when the full presence of the powerful child of the universe returns. I mean, you got to think about yourself in terms of what you would represent. If you could put your full presence in here and see it, you'd be about 150, 200 foot tall and about 40 miles wide. You'd glow like a ball of flame. Okay, so I exaggerate ever so slightly. But you would be one large presence in this reality. Of course, the reality would be a large presence right along with you, because you can't be that happy without everything else be that happy with you, you see? So that's what we were here to develop. Happiness. The pursuit of happiness, see? It's been known forever. But nobody knew what the hell happiness was until we learned some harder ways through sadness. Coyote medicine through and through, I'm telling you, baby. You see what the heart do, though? Oh, we're such coyotes. We love it. We love to dance with it. We love to get in there and get depressed. You know, oh, yeah, oh God, I've been stolen from again. Oh, I'm so powerless. I hate those mother truckers. What will I, you know, and on and on and on. And the whole time there's that little child inside just a grinning and saying, wow, we're getting through this one too. Wow. And when you see that now, when you see that flash up inside, see? It's real, babies. It's not just bullshit. It is real. And you let this child, you'll get confidence as you see him more. You let this child carry that enthusiastic passion within you. Just let and translate it into your life for you. It's kind of like letting the heart do it, in other words. You got to have supreme trust in that heart, but what happens is it proves itself to you, demonstrably so, in all these miraculous ways again and again. And it does so, you move beyond any need to trust anything. You're living in a flow, and you know, and the flow just go where it need to go. And it's rock and it's roll, but it's done harmonically, don't you know? In other words, it all flows together beautifully and poetically. It's the perfect dance. How about that, baby, huh? Anybody ever described your living to you like that, where you could really see it and be it like that before? Well, here's old Grandpa helping you open that door. I told you I was a gatekeeper and a door opener. That's what I do, and it's Free Day Friday, too. That's what I do on Free Day Friday. When I say I mean me and the Vibe Tribe. All of the vibes that are the tribe. You're not just human anymore. We're a lot more. We're gathered together with all the universal interests here. This is why we can't lose, why we got nothing to fear. Because we're a strong force here, man. Given creatively. You can't make war on us. You can't make peace with us. You can only go with the flow. Just follow that flow. That's what we're establishing here, don't you know? In full presence of person, too, man. And that person might just be you, and you, and you, and you, and you, me. Which is you. Wow, I'm cute over there. I like that one. Come here, honey. I want to get to know you a little bit. Oh, baby. Sweet old man high on life. Joining with his family, his grandchildren. On both sides of this fence, man, the human and the ethereal, as you'd call it. And being the juncture of love, the gateway to the life between them, the joining of them right here inside my soft, sweet, scrawny little hide. Because it's time to take that ride. You want to share it with me, babies? Well, here it is. We got it together now, don't we? You always get it clear on the Hazy Radio Network when Grandpa's here. And if you don't, well, tomorrow you will, dear. Oh, speaking of which, now, we all remember Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island, one of the finest television programs ever produced. And Ginger, too. But here's Mary Ann from way back in the way back when, in her persona form of Dawn Wells, to perform a little familiar music. You won't believe it's Mary Ann, but it is, baby. And I want you to give her a little hug, okay? I mean, let her get done singing for... Oh, thanks, baby. She just gave me a little peck on the cheek. Wow. That girl embarrasses me somehow. Ooh, ow, Mary Ann, oh, baby. Come back to this, old man.
Take me. I'm more like the girl who lives next door.